I mentioned earlier this week that Victorian MP Fiona Patten was pushing ahead with her bill for drug decriminalisation in Victoria. And yesterday, the federal MP for Canberra, Alicia Payne, publicly declared that she also supports the decriminalisation of illicit drugs, not the soft stuff. I mean, we're talking ice, heroin, speed, cocaine, ecstasy, whole box and dice. Opposition leader Anthony Albanese eventually came out and denounced her push. His first comments, I might add, on drug policy since becoming leader of the opposition. But it's picked up pace as an issue for the Labor Party. Joining me now are my two favourites on a Thursday, two freedom lovers. From Melbourne, columnist for the Herald Sun, Caleb Bond, and Institute of Public Affairs, Gideon Rosner, also coming to us from Melbourne. Gideon, we know that drugs devastating impact on individuals and society. We're seeing some real fracturing here, though, of the Labor Party on this issue. We know it's a push by Fiona Patten in Victoria, but for this federal Labor MP to come out as well, that's telling us something.
Look, Peter, it's a radical policy idea, of course it is, but I don't actually think we should dismiss it out of hand because counterintuitively, the evidence suggests that policies like this actually work. Portugal went for a full decriminalisation model 20 years ago, and rather than putting drug addicts in prison, it referred them to rehabilitation and treatment. As a result, drug addiction went down, drug-related deaths went down, drug-related crime went down, and drug use itself went massively down in Portugal. Let's face facts, Peter, here. The war on drugs has not worked. We've been bashing our heads against that wall for 50 years. I'm not saying this is the right policy for Australia necessarily, but I do think we need to have the conversation because what we are doing currently is not working. And the only winners of the war on drugs we have seen are criminal gangs who are laughing all the way to their money laundering vehicle of choice.
Well, I'd say we'd failed the war on drugs if we'd actually had the war. I mean, the biggest problem I have is that we don't have a war on drugs. We don't send messages to young people not to use drugs. We try and have this game with them that they can use them on Saturday night and still pick themselves up and get back to school or university on the Monday. We know that they want to have pill testing and all things at festivals. I mean, Caleb, we got the situation in Victoria. We closed playgrounds to little kids. Heroin injecting room was open. There's no great diversionary programs if you go to the heroin injecting room. They're not trying to get you off the stuff. They just make it easier to bring the dealers in the one place and the new needles. And that's the problem I have. It hasn't been for a long time, any bloody war on drugs.
No, and I mean, one wonders whether pollies want us to all be doped up so we won't notice what a bad job they are doing. But of course, we're talking about setting up a new injecting room here in the middle of Melbourne, and they want to put it in the CBD right across from Flinders Station. And at a time where Melbourne really needs people to come back into the city, the last thing it needs is something that would attract more drug users into the city. But I mean, Gideon raises this point about getting people, diverting them away to rehabilitation and this kind of thing, but that can be done in conjunction with the court system, and that's what happens in South Australia. When people are charged with a small drug offence, like possession of ice or whatever, they go to the treatment intervention court where they are compelled by the court to get rehabilitation or go into an employment program or something like this. So the law can actually be used in that way to try and get these people help. And if you just, blanket decriminalise that, that wouldn't exist.